The apprentice is trembling, not from cold, from rage. A merchant just humiliated him in front of the entire marketplace, called him incompetent, worthless, a fool. And now he's standing outside the master's door, fists clenched, ready to demand justice. The door opens before he knocks. Master Tenshin stands there, calm, unmoved. "You're here because someone said words." The apprentice's jaw tightens. "He insulted me, in front of everyone." Tenshin nods slowly. "And you believed him?" The apprentice freezes. What? If his words had no truth, why are you here?" "Because," the apprentice stammers, "because people heard, because now they think." "So you're not hurt by his words. You're hurt by imaginary conversations happening in other people's heads." The apprentice has no answer. Tenshin steps aside. "Come in. You're about to learn why you'll never be free until you stop giving strangers permission to wound you." Here's what the ancient samurai understood that modern people have forgotten. Taking things personally isn't about what others say to you. It's about what you believe about yourself when they say it. The Japanese masters practiced something called Mujō, Wu-Qing. Not heartlessness, as it's often mistranslated, but detachment from the stories others tell about you, because they knew. When someone's words cut deep, it's never just the words. It's because those words touched a wound you created, a belief you're already carrying, a doubt you've been hiding from. The insult isn't the weapon, it's the mirror. And most people spend their entire lives attacking the mirror, defending, arguing, proving, instead of healing the wound it revealed. The Apprentice Who Carried Everything, 1847. A young man named Riku arrives at a blacksmith's forge outside Kyoto, 23 years old, skilled with metal, fragile with criticism. He's worked under 3 masters already, left each one after a few months, not because of the work, because of the words. One master called his technique acceptable but uninspired. Another said he lacked the instinct for true craftsmanship. The third simply shook his head at a piece Riku spent weeks on and said, "Start over." And each time, Riku didn't hear feedback. He heard verdict. "You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough." So here he is, 4th master, final attempt. Tenshin is old, 70, maybe older, known for producing the finest blades in the region and for saying very little. Riku presents his previous work, a tanto blade he's proud of. Tenshin examines it in silence. 30 seconds. A minute. Finally, adequate. That's it, 1 word. And Riku feels it like a punch. Adequate, not good, not impressive, adequate. He wants to defend it. Explain his choices, prove it's better than adequate. But Tenshin has already moved on. You start tomorrow, dawn. Day 1. Riku arrives before sunrise, ready to prove himself. Tenshin hands him a hammer and a rod of iron. Flatten this, then this one, then this one. He gestures to a pile of 50 rods. When do I start forging actual? When you stop needing my approval. Riku blinks. What? Tenshin doesn't repeat himself, just points to the first rod. Riku hammers. The work is simple, monotonous, and with each strike, his mind churns. Adequate. He thinks my work is just adequate. What if he's right? What if I'm wasting my time? What if I'm not talented enough for this? By midday, he's barely through 10 rods. Not because they're difficult, but because half his energy is spent defending himself to an imaginary tribunal in his mind. Tenshin watches from across the forge. Says nothing. Day 3. Riku finishes the rods. Tenshin inspects them. Nods. Again. 50 more. Riku's frustration breaks. Why? I already did this. I proved I can. You proved nothing. You're still carrying yesterday's insult in today's work. I'm not. Your shoulders are tense. Your strikes are angry. You're not flattening iron. You're trying to flatten the word adequate out of your memory. Riku feels exposed, because Tenshin is right. He is still replaying that word, still trying to prove it wrong. How do you know that? Because I can hear it in the metal. Every strike is a defense. And defense is the slowest way to forge anything. Tenshin picks up a rod Riku finished. This is good work, functional, clean. But you'll never make anything great until you stop using the forge to argue with me. Here's what Riku is learning. When you take criticism personally, you turn every task into a courtroom. You're not doing the work. You're proving something to someone, and that internal argument, that constant need to demonstrate worth, drains the energy that should go into the craft. But here's the trap Riku falls into next, and it's one most people never escape. The performance trap. Day 7. Riku decides, I'll prove him wrong through excellence. If Tenshin thinks his work is just adequate, Riku will produce something undeniable. Something so good, Tenshin has to acknowledge it. He stays late, works through breaks, pours everything into a single blade, perfecting every angle, every edge, every detail. 3 days of obsessive focus. And when he's done, he knows this is his best work. He presents it to Tenshin. Tenshin examines it. Longer this time, testing the balance, checking the temper. Finally, this is very good. Riku's chest swells. Finally, recognition. Tenshin sets the blade down, but you made it for the wrong reason. The swell collapses. What? You made this to change my opinion of you. Not because the blade needed to be this good, but because you needed me to say it was. Riku feels anger rising. What does it matter why I made it? It's still good work. It matters because you're dependent. Dependent on what? On my words, on external validation. Right now, you feel good because I said very good. But if I'd said adequate again, you'd be crushed. Which means I control how you feel about your work. Not the work itself, my opinion. Tenshin continues. And that's why you'll never master this craft. Because mastery requires you to be internally referenced. To know when something is good because you know. Not because someone told you. But you, he gestures to Riku, you're externally referenced. You only know you're doing well when someone confirms it. And when they don't, you collapse. Here's the trap. Most people think the solution to taking things personally is to get validation, to work harder, perform better, earn the praise that proves the criticism wrong. But that just deepens the dependency, because now you need the praise. You're not free from others' opinions. You're just trying to control which opinions they have. And when you can't, when criticism comes anyway, you're right back where you started. Wounded, defensive, desperate to prove yourself. Riku sits with this. So what do? You stop making my opinion matter. How? By building your own internal standard and learning to trust it more than any external voice. Tenshin picks up a piece of scrap metal. Tomorrow, you'll forge something, and I won't look at it. What? I won't examine it, won't comment, won't validate it. You'll finish it, and then decide for yourself. Is it good? And whatever you decide, that's what's true. Day 11. Riku forges a chisel, a simple tool, nothing fancy. But he approaches it differently this time, not asking, will Tenshin approve? Asking, does this meet my standard? And immediately he realizes he doesn't know what his standard is. He spent so long measuring himself by others' reactions that he has no internal compass, no sense of good that isn't borrowed from someone else's judgment. He finishes the chisel, sets it aside. Tenshin glances at it but says nothing, as promised. And Riku sits with the void. No feedback, no validation, no confirmation that he did well, just silence. And in that silence, a question screams, is it good? I don't know. I can't know without someone telling me. He feels panic, because he's just discovered he doesn't trust himself. That evening, he tells Tenshin, I can't do this. I don't know if the chisel is good or not. Why not? Because I've never decided that for myself. I've always waited for someone to tell me. Tenshin nods. Now you see the problem. You've spent your whole life outsourcing your self-worth, giving others the authority to determine if you're good enough. And now that I've taken that authority away, you're lost. So how do I build my own standard? By using the chisel, testing it, seeing if it works. Not if it's beautiful, not if it's impressive, but if it does what it's meant to do. That's your standard. Function, purpose, truth. Not opinion, not comparison, not performance. Just, does it work? Here's the principle. Internal standards are built on function, not feedback. One, not. Do people think this is good? But, does this do what I intended? And when you anchor to that, when your measure of success is internal, external opinions lose their power, not because you ignore them, but because they're no longer the source of your worth. Day 15. Riku tests the chisel. It cuts cleanly, holds its edge, works. And for the first time, he feels something new. Satisfaction that doesn't need confirmation. He knows it's good. Not because Tenshin said so, but because he tested it and it worked. And that knowing, that's his. No one can take it. No one can give it. It's internally sourced. But Tenshin sees something else. A new trap forming, one that's even more subtle. The final mirror. Day 21. Riku is working differently now. More grounded, less frantic. He's stopped performing for Tenshin, or stopped measuring every piece against an imagined judgment. Just working. And Tenshin sees. The craft is improving. Not because Riku is trying harder, but because he's stopped dividing his energy between making and proving. Then something happens. A visiting merchant comes to the forge, watches Riku work for a few minutes, then says, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Interesting technique. Bit crude though, isn't it?" Riku's hands freeze. The hammer stops mid-swing. And just like that, he's back. Back in the wound. Back in the defense. Crude. He thinks my work is crude. Tenshin sees it immediately. That evening, after the merchant leaves, "You stopped working the moment he spoke." Riku nods, ashamed. "I thought I was past this." "You are, with my opinions. But you're not past it with his." "What's the difference?" "You've learned to detach from the opinions of people you respect, but you're still vulnerable to the opinions of people you don't. Here's the trap. Most people think they've healed when they stop caring what their teachers think, when they build internal standards and stop needing validation from mentors. But then a stranger criticizes them, someone with no authority, no insight, and they crumble. Because the wound isn't about who delivers the judgment, it's about the judgment itself." Tenshin continues. "The merchant's words shouldn't matter. He knows nothing about forging." "Then why do they bother me?" "Because you're still asking the wrong question." "What question am I asking? Is he right?" You hear criticism and immediately evaluate it, and defend against it, try to prove it wrong. But the real question is, why does it matter if he's right? Riku sits with this. Because if he's right, if my technique is crude, then I'm not as good as I think. And I need to be good. Why? Because Riku struggles, feels something deeper being pulled up. Because if I'm not good at this, then what am I? And there it is, the root. Tenshin's voice is gentle now. You've tied your worth to your craft. So any criticism of your work feels like criticism of your existence. That's why a stranger's offhand comment can wound you. Not because his opinion matters, but because you've made yourself and your skill the same thing. And when one is attacked, the other bleeds. Here's the deepest layer. You take things personally because you've personalized your identity. You've decided, I am my work, I am my achievements, I am my reputation. And when someone criticizes those things, it feels like they're criticizing you, not your choices, not your output, you. But the masters knew, you are not your work, you are the one doing the work. And that distinction, that separation, is what makes you untouchable. Tenshin gives Riku a new practice. For the next week, every time you create something, I want you to say this. This is not me. This is what I made. Out loud? Yes, every time. That seems, I know, do it anyway. Day 22. Riku finishes a knife. Feels foolish, but says it anyway. This is not me. This is what I made. The words feel empty, like a phrase with no meaning. But Tenshin insists. Again, tomorrow. Day 25. Riku finishes a hinge. Says the phrase, this is not me. This is what I made. And this time, something shifts. A tiny gap opens between himself and the hinge. It's subtle, but it's there. The hinge is an object outside him, and he's still here, separate from it. Day 29. A different merchant visits. Examines a blade Riku just finished. Decent work, though I've seen better for less. And Riku feels the impulse, the rush to defend, to explain, to prove. But before it takes hold, the phrase surfaces. This is not me. This is what I made. And the impulse dissolves. Not because he fought it, but because the separation is becoming real. He doesn't defend the blade, doesn't argue, just nods. Good to know, and continues working. The merchant looks surprised, almost disappointed, like he expected a reaction and didn't get one. He leaves, and Riku notices. He's unshaken, not because he's suppressing the hurt, but because there is no hurt. The blade was criticized, not him. And the blade, it's just a blade. Tenshin sees this that evening. You've learned the first separation. There's more. Yes, you've separated self from work, but there's a deeper one. What is it? Separating self from story. What story? The story about who you are, who you should be. The story that makes criticism feel like evidence of something wrong with you. But here's what Riku is about to discover. The final trap. The one that even people who've detached from criticism still fall into. The story beneath day 35. Riku has been practicing the separation for 2 weeks, and something remarkable has happened. Criticism doesn't wound him anymore. Someone calls his work unrefined. He hears it, considers it, moves on. Someone praises it, he appreciates it, doesn't cling to it. He's stable, and Tenshin sees. Riku is ready for the final teaching. That evening, Tenshin asks, "Why did you become a blacksmith?" Riku answers immediately, "Because I wanted to create something meaningful, deeper. Because I wanted to be good at something, deeper." Riku pauses, thinks. "Because I wanted to matter." Tenshin nods slowly. And there it is. There's what? The story beneath the story. You think you take things personally because you care about your craft, but that's not it. You take things personally because you believe criticism is evidence. Evidence that you don't matter, that you're not enough. Riku feels something cold move through him, because Tenshin is right. Every insult, every dismissal, and every piece of criticism, they all whispered the same thing. You're not enough, you don't matter. Tenshin continues. This is the root of taking things personally. Not sensitivity, not pride, but a deep belief that your worth is conditional, that you have to earn mattering, through skill, through achievement, through approval. And as long as you believe that, criticism will always feel like proof you haven't earned it yet. Here's the truth most people never face. You don't take things personally because others are harsh. You take things personally because you haven't decided you matter unconditionally. You're still trying to prove it. To yourself, to others, to some invisible judge. And every criticism feels like failure in that proof. Evidence that you're still not enough. That's why it hurts. Not because of the words, but because the words confirm what you secretly fear. Riku asks quietly, "So how do I stop believing that?" You don't stop believing it. You see it's not true. How? By testing it over and over. Can you matter even when someone thinks your work is crude? Can you matter even when you fail? Can you matter even when no one notices you? And the answer, every time, has to be yes. Not because you earned it, but because mattering isn't something you earn. It's something you are. Day 40. A master blacksmith from Osaka visits the forge. Renowned, respected, intimidating. He watches Riku work for an hour, then delivers his assessment. Your fundamentals are weak. Your approach is inefficient. You have years of unlearning ahead of you if you want to reach competence. The words are brutal, delivered without malice. But brutal, and Riku feels them land. Not in his chest, not in his pride, just registers them, like hearing someone comment on the weather. He nods. "Thank you for the feedback." The master seems surprised. "You're not offended?" "No. Why not?" Riku thinks for a moment. "Because you're talking about my technique, not my worth. And my worth, that's not up for debate." The master studies him, then smiles, slightly. "You've learned something most blacksmiths never do." He turns to Tenshin. "This one will go far." And leaves. Tenshin watches him go, then looks at Riku. "Do you feel proud that he said that?" Riku checks internally. "A little, but it doesn't change anything." "Good. Because if his praise could lift you, his criticism could still wound you. But you're past that now. Here's the final principle. True detachment isn't selective. You can't be unaffected by criticism but dependent on praise. They're the same mechanism. Both make your internal state contingent on external opinion. True freedom is when neither moves you. You can hear both, consider both, but neither defines you. Day 45. Tenshin tells Riku, "You're ready to leave." "Leave? You've learned what I can teach you, but I've only been here 6 weeks. And in 6 weeks, you've learned what most students never learn in 6 years. Not because you're talented, but because you were ready to face the real work. Which isn't forging metal, it's forging a self that doesn't shatter when the world speaks." Riku packs his tools. Before he leaves, he asks, "That first day, when you called my work adequate, did you mean it?" Tenshin smiles. "Does it matter?" Riku laughs. "No, I suppose it doesn't." "Good, because I don't remember." "You don't remember?" "No, I say what I see in the moment, then I let it go. I don't carry my opinions around like treasures, and I certainly don't expect you to." The mirror you carry. Here's how this connects to you. Right now, someone's words are living in your mind, something they said weeks ago, months ago, years ago, and you're still carrying it, still defending against it, still trying to prove it wrong. Not to them, to yourself. Because some part of you believes, if they said it, maybe it's true. And if it's true, maybe I'm not enough. Here's the practice. Tonight, write down the criticism that won't leave. The words someone said that you keep replaying. Then ask yourself, why does this bother me? Not the surface answer, because it was rude. The deep answer. What does this criticism confirm about the fear you already carry? Maybe it's, I'm not talented. Maybe it's, I'm not worthy of respect. Maybe it's, I don't matter unless I'm exceptional. Whatever it is, see it. Don't fight it. Don't fix it. Just see it. That fear, that's why the words hurt. Not because they're true, but because they echo what you're already afraid of. Then ask the second question. Is my worth actually conditional on this being false? Can I matter even if my work isn't exceptional? Can I matter even if someone doesn't respect me? Can I matter even if I'm criticized? Sit with that. And let the answer be yes, not because you proved it, but because worth doesn't require proof. Do this once, then again when the next criticism comes. And 30 days from now, notice. Words don't land the same way anymore. You hear them, you consider them, but they don't wound you. Because you've separated feedback from verdict, opinion from truth, their words from your worth. Years later, someone asks Riku, "How did you stop taking things personally?" He's quiet for a long time. "I realized I was never taking their words personally. I was taking my own fear personally and projecting it onto their words. So the words don't hurt anymore. They still sting sometimes, but a sting isn't a wound. It's just sensation, and sensation passes." What changed? I stopped believing that other people's opinions are evidence of anything. They're just opinions. Sometimes useful, sometimes not, but never verdict. "So you don't care what anyone thinks?" Riku shakes his head. "I care, I listen, but I don't obey. I don't let their words become my truth. I consider them, test them against what I know, and then I decide. Not they, me. And that decision, that's mine." You're reading this right now, and someone's words are sitting in your chest, taking up space, demanding response. Let them go. Not by forcing them out, but by seeing. They're just words. They don't define you. They never did. Your worth isn't up for debate. Not with them, not with anyone, not even with yourself. You matter, not because you're exceptional, not because you proved it, but because mattering isn't earned. It just is. And once you know that, really know it, no one's words can touch you. Not because you're hard, but because you're free. If this landed, write one word below. The criticism you're finally ready to release.